Wisconsin is known for is orange cheddar. Wisconsin produces 600 different varieties of cheese. If Wisconsin was a nation, we'd be the third largest producer in the world. Our best seller is our 5-year cheddar. I think it's because of the price and the age of the cheese. So you can see milk in the tank still being stirred. Milk was being held overnight, what was brought in yesterday afternoon. And this is the milk we're pasteurizing, running into the vat, and going to make cheese out of today. First we heat it on water, then we dump the water and start running milk through it. Pasteurize all the milk. Pasteurizing is heating the milk, thermalizing the milk to try to kill all of the bad bacteria. On ours, we use a high temperature short time, HTST. We typically run 164 to 165, and it has to be held for at least 15 seconds at the minimum. We want to make sure that the chart is reading exactly what we're showing. Sometimes you have to adjust the needle. So now we'll warm it back up again. It's right on today. Right now it's circulating all the way through the pasteurizer. So we ensure that our milk is pasteurized before we're putting it in the vat. And we add the starter culture. It's about 500 grams of a mesophilic starter culture, lactis lactis, and lactis cremoris. We're typically at about 86 to 88 degrees Fahrenheit. Optimum temperature for bacteria to grow. We want to ripen the starter culture for about 50 minutes. We produce a lot of cheese in Wisconsin. We believe that in southwest Wisconsin especially, the driftless area, that it does affect the flavor of the milk, the feed, the hay, the grasses, the corn, everything because of the limestone. So we do believe that it affects the terroir, affects the flavor of the cheese. Once starter culture's been ripened for that long, if we're adding color, we'll add annatto. 100 years ago when we were overtaking New York as the dairy state, we were trying to try ours. Ours is orange, theirs is white, differentiation. So we're just mixing the color in, and that's what basically Wisconsin is known for, is orange cheddar as opposed to East Coast white cheddar. Then we'll add the rennet, which is the enzyme that coagulates milk. Stir that in, pull the paddles, just let it sit for about 25 minutes and let it thicken up. So it gets about as thick as Greek yogurt. Now we're going to cut the coagulated milk. These are 3/8 inch wire knives. We'll cross cut the vat, then we'll go all the way up one side, all the way back down the other with the vertical and the horizontal knives. We're going to put the paddles back in, so once we do start cooking, we can stir it. They're pretty delicate at this point. Let's see how they're little tiny cubes. They can start expelling whey out of them. 10 pounds of milk will get about 1 pound of cheese and about 9 pounds of liquid. So you have to be able to kick all of that liquid, all that whey out of the curd. In Wisconsin, one of the regulations is that every vat of cheese has to be presided over by a licensed cheesemaker. When I started in 1970, you could get your cheesemaker's license by apprenticing under a cheesemaker for 1.5 years and then sitting for the exam. And that's what I did. When we first bought this place, I was about 35 and it was easier on the back. Everything has to be cleaned and re-cleaned and sanitized before you use it. So you want a picture of the thermometer since it's heated to 100. Now we'll start, push it to the back 3/4, drain the whey, kind of let it settle to the bottom, ditch it in the middle so the whey can drain out of the center. I can feel the curd down there, so I can feel how much is still there to push. The vats are sloped to the center, to one end. Drain it out of the valve. So at this point, we're getting down to where the whey is mostly drained off. So what whey and a little bit of cheese is coming out that we're draining on the floor is just what the pump couldn't pump into the whey tank. The rest of it was already pumped into the whey tank, and that will be used for fertilizer. Bitech will haul it out and land spread it. We'll get all the whey drained off, and then we'll start trimming it up, packing that on top, and then we'll be able to cut all of the cheese into slabs so we can start cheddaring. As you turn them over, the weight of the slab keeps kind of pressing itself and making the bottom smoother. You cut them in half, pile them too high. Each of those, you're putting more weight on there, kind of pressing them together, but also pressing them to stretch out so the texture changes a little bit. First we go 1 high, 2 high, 3 high, 4 high, about every 15, 20 minutes. And we'll test the acidity or the pH of the whey to make sure the starter culture is still growing like we want. Then we'll run them through a cheddar mill and make the cheddar sized curds. So I'm just breaking up. Sometimes there's some big lumps that stuck together so that when you salt it, the salt can hit all surfaces. The salt will preserve the cheese. It slows the starter culture down, prevents it from getting too acidic. Without salt, pretty bland. So this is a little bit over half of the salt that we'll put on, then I'll put another bucket on. So once we have those curds, then we'll dip them with a bucket. From here, we're just dipping it out, weighing it, putting it in the 40-pound forms. Once we put 2 pails in each one, they'll be ready to put in the press. We do it by hand scale on a bucket and we weigh them. We put about 45 to 46 pounds of those curds. They each have cheesecloth in them. We'll pull the pins, put a lid on there. We'll press them down to between 41 and 42 pounds. So we'll lose about 4 pounds of whey out of every block. This is the whey that's draining out right now. About 20 pounds of pressure the first 20 minutes, and then we'll switch it to about 40 pounds of pressure for the last hour and a half. The cheese has been in the press for about 2 hours now, so we're going to start wrapping these. We'll pull them out of the forms, take the cheesecloth off. We're going to have a fully pressed block of just a solid mass of orange cheddar cheese. We'll put them in a long hole bag, and then we'll seal them in the multi-bag. Put it in a cardboard box with a wood liner, put it on a pallet, start aging it out. We're going to start sticking them into cave 1 to start curing them out. They'll be moved up to another location within about a week because most of our cheddar we age in another location. We can't fit everything in here. So the cheddars are moved out because we age them so long. Back in the day before refrigeration, most of these factories were built into a hill like this so that the back end was kind of the cooler spot, sort of underground. So it'd be 55 or 60 and they'd let the cheese cure at that temperature. The oldest we have ever sold is 20-year-old, and we don't typically have that on hand all of the time. Some restaurants really want it, but individuals want to buy that. They want something that's aged that long and hard sought after it, and it's always fun to try and come up with something new. 3 milks instead of just cow milk. We moved on with cow, sheep, goat, and the combination, and it's fun to play with all those. You get different flavor combinations, try to come up with something new, something nobody else has ever done before. One of the cheeses, you have to be kidding blue, very unique name. And I actually came up with the name 2 years before I came up with the cheese. Most of the cheeses, I'll come up with a cheese recipe before I'll come up with a name for it. We're tiny compared to most. It'd be kind of nice to be a little more well-known. But the other part of that problem is how fast can you grow if you need to supply a double-edged sword. In Madison area, we're pretty well known. Like at the farmer's market where people can sample everything we make and try it and say, wow. So it's satisfaction with knowing you've made something that consumers will love. Yes, the making is great too, but it's a lot of work.